So hello, my name is Jacob Smith, and today I'm here with Ms. Eileen Beard, who is the equine planner with the Maryland Department of Agriculture and Soil Conservation Service. So hello, Ms. Eileen. Why don't you start by telling us what an equine planner actually is?
Um, an equine planner is, well, there's a couple different planners in the system. I specialize in the horse farms. And so we try to go out and help landowners, and in my case, specifically equine landowners, identify and assist with soil erosion or water quality issues on their farm.
Okay.
So I walk the farm with the landowner and see what concerns they have, and then I might even point out concerns that maybe they don't see right off the bat, and we try to formulate a plan to address those concerns in a way that they want to address them, that suits them, their schedule, their management, and their finances. So
Okay.
it's their plan.
So are you coming up with the ideas for them to implement, or are you helping them implement ideas, or are you just helping them find issues around their farm?
A little bit of everything. Um, we talk about the issues together, and then we come up with some different solutions to help fix some of those issues. There's several different ways to address some of the environmental concerns they might have, or some of their grazing concerns or things like that. And so we formulate a plan, and they agree to, either implement the plan or we work on it to make sure that, everybody's happy moving forward.
Okay. Very interesting. It seems like you're working a lot like one-on-one with the farmers.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
interesting. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of field work too. Is that like the only portion of your job, or?
No, although I do enjoy the field work, every farm visit I do does have a lot of office work associated with it. Once I complete a farm visit, I will go back to the office and document what we discussed with the landowner. And then if they want to move forward with a farm plan, there's a whole lot of paperwork to do with that. There's a software that we use called Conservation Desktop. That's the USDA NRCS manages that software. So we go in, once we've decided, or the farmer has decided what they want to move forward with, we then go and put it into Conservation Desktop. And so they get an aerial map of their property, a location of all the best management practices that they would like to implement, a timeline for implementing those. They get soils information. They may get a grazing plan or any other specialized plans associated with their operation. It's a lot of paperwork, but
Yeah.
in the end, I think it's worth it for the farmer. We kind of give them way too much information, or
Okay.
we bombard them with a lot of information to help them make the best decision they can.
Now, are you spending more time in the field or in the office, would you say?
Lately, it's been more time in the office just because there's been so much paperwork with everything now. When I first started this job, I spent a lot of time out in the field learning and meeting with farmers and meeting with other coworkers to just get trained up on what a farm plan is and how to work it. But then as the programs progressed, there's just so much more paperwork going on now. But I do get out in the field a couple times. It used to be a couple times a week. Now it's a little less because of COVID.
Right. That's good at least, because I mean, I'm sure like interacting with the farmers that you're actively trying to help is like a big part of it. Like actually seeing like what issues they're trying to solve.
Yep.
So it seems like you're traveling quite a bit. Are you traveling just within the state or the county, or is this kind of like wherever you're needed?
My main counties are Prince George's and Anne Arundel. Those are the ones you can find me most in. If Calvert, they don't specifically have an equine planner, so if they have a horse farm that they're working with, they'll call me in for some help. St. Mary's and Charles, they do have an MDA Equine planner that covers those counties. And there are some other specialized horse people around the state,
Okay.
but mostly I just stick to my own counties.
Well, that's not too bad then. It's a lot less travel, so.
Yep.
Now, a lot of these farms, I'm assuming, aren't going to only have horses. Do you work with other kinds of planners, or have you become kind of like more than an equine planner and just kind of do like generalized farm things too?
Some farms do have more than horses. Some of them will have crop systems, or even some farms have hay. Generally, I don't run into too many farms that have a lot of different types of livestock. if that's the case, I'm not a livestock expert. I don't know much about sheep and goats. So I will try to bring in another planner or somebody that has a bit more knowledge than I do to work together to get what the landowner needs.
Very cool. So how long have you been an equine planner?
MDA hired me in 2008.
Okay, so about
They
12 years.
they pursued some grant money. They really wanted to bring the horse people into, understanding land management and the agricultural world because, horse people are focused on the horses. So they wanted to bring in some horse people to help work with the horse farms.
Okay. So have you always been interested in working with horses then?
I've been involved with horses on and off for a long time. It presented itself. I mean, I've always enjoyed riding and showing. Oh.
Okay. So like maybe not this career like in particular, but you've always had an interest in horses.
Yeah. Yep.
Very nice. Do you remember approximately what your starting salary was? It's kind of like ballpark, of course.
Yeah, back in 2008, it was right around 34,000. And that's kind of, even in the federal government for positions similar than mine, the federal government starting salary for this type of position is around a GS7. So that's around 37 to 48, depending on locality.
Okay.
So the salaries are pretty similar. But I really appreciate my benefits. I have a nice flexible schedule. I work 9-hour days and have every other Friday off. There's a lot of opportunities for comp time, holidays, things like that. So.
Okay, so it seems like it's a lot of work, but would you say it's like worth what they're giving you back?
Most days.
Okay,
Some days when it gets a little hectic, I'm like, oh man. But most days I think it's pretty fair.
All right. So what's something you enjoy about your job that you don't think you'd be able to get like out of a similar job?
I really enjoy being out in the field and meeting with the horse people and seeing what works for them and maybe what doesn't work for them, and trying to offer different solutions. Sometimes it's just a matter of they see their farm day in and day out, and I see their farm. That's my first time looking at their farm, so maybe it's just a set of fresh eyes on what's going on. So
I'm sure they can be stubborn about things.
A little bit.
I think it's correct, I'm guessing then.
Yeah, a little bit. But in the end, it's their farm, and I just help them with their decisions.
So it seems like your organization is more focused on like helping the farmers rather than actually like enforcing like Maryland state laws or things like that.
Right. I am part of resource conservation in the Maryland Department of Agriculture. So my job is to strictly go out and help the farmers with their environmental issues. I have no enforcement authority. We're the government, we're here to help. It's kind of a joke that we have when we go out sometimes, but we're not going to report you when you call a planner. We're not going to report you to MDE, or I don't even report you to MDA. Because nutrient management's not my department. So if you don't have a nutrient management plan and you're required to have one, I'm going to recommend that you get one. I'm going to tell you how to do it, and I might even help you get one, but that's on the landowner.
Well, so it seems like you're very focused on just helping the farmers out and making the environment healthier.
Yes.
Very good. So on the other hand, though, is there anything you dislike about your job or anything that you would like change if you could?
So the soil conservation districts are a partnership between Maryland Department of Agriculture, the USDA NRCS, and the district. So sometimes it's a little tricky navigating that partnership. I wish I had a little more independence within that partnership, especially when it came to, I can help farmers with agronomic practices like pasture planting, but if they want a structural practice like a watering facility or roof runoff, I have to rely on some of our partners. And I wish I was a little, and we all work hard, but we all have full plates. I wish I was a little more independent when it came to helping with more structural practices.
Okay. So it sounds like you work with a lot of other departments too in this job.
Yep.
I'm sure that can get challenging quite quickly. So.
Yep. Other departments and other USD NRCS really provides us the guidelines for farm planning, and they they are responsible for developing the standards and specifications for best management practices. So, and they're a federal entity. So
Okay.
they have a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. So would you recommend this to an animal science student such as myself?
I would. I think it's really important that you have an understanding of the different needs of the different animals. Um, like I said, it would be hard for me to go out and work with a sheep or goat landowner because I don't have that experience with those animals.
Right.
So I think that's a very important part of the job, is understanding the needs of the animals, and then you kind of try to mesh it with the needs of the environment for the landowner.
Okay. Now, obviously, we're talking about Maryland here, so you can't talk about Maryland without talking about the Chesapeake Bay.
Right.
Do you think that plays into your job at all, like just being in Maryland and this close to the bay?
Oh yeah, the Maryland Department of Agriculture is part of the Watershed Implementation Plan, where each sector, whether it be ag or urban, is tasked with reducing their nutrient and sediment load to the bay. So a lot of the best management practices that we implement have a nutrient or sediment load reduction associated with them. So by implementing some of these BMPs, we're saving the bay, and that's part of the WIP. We call it the WIP.
Well, I'm sure that, well, it at least seems like in your job you're very like focused on helping other people because you're helping the farmers, you're helping the bay. It's
Yep.
just a
Yep.
pretty good thing to be doing. um, Now, obviously, this has an environmental science basis to some degree. Would you say having a background in environmental science would help, or?
It would be helpful. There are a lot of courses and a lot of trainings that we take throughout the year, offered by different agencies, that will help people who don't have a big background in environmental science, but they'll help, put it all together so that
Right.
you can help the landowner get it together.
Okay. So is there any required or suggested qualifications?
You have to be a people person. You have to know, you have to be willing to, go out and talk to the farmers and understand that maybe what their goals aren't exactly what your goals are, but you can help them along, and they might not even want to take any of your suggestions, and you have to, that's fine. You just have to
Right.
understand that's. But yeah, you definitely have to be a people person, and you definitely have to be good at working in a team
Okay.
and communicating with the farmer and your technicians and your other planners and everybody else involved in the process.
Very interesting. Is there any skills that you would say are needed?
I mean, people skills are great. Computer skills, a little bit of technology. We have a planning software that we use, Conservation Desktop. They just switched. It used to be called Toolkit, and so they got rid of Toolkit, and now it's Conservation Desktop. And it seems like almost every week they're making changes or updates, and it's not working, and you have to figure out a workaround. So having a little bit of computer skills, and actually ArcGIS is a good skill to have too.
So it seems like this job is like rapidly changing. Would you say that plays into it?
It changes in the way things are done, with the different software, and they're always trying to make things easier, but sometimes they make things harder. By adding this piece of paperwork that might explain a little bit more to the farmer, it makes it a little bit harder for us.
Right. So is it like just the paperwork side of it that's changing, or are the like practices that you're implementing in the field also changing over time?
It's both. The NRCS reviews their practices from time to time to make sure that they are working the way they're supposed to work. They're designed to the best that they can be. And they have made some changes. For example, they used to put a lot of waste storage structures in with wooden walls. And they
Okay.
don't do that so much anymore because people were getting into those waste storage structures with their equipment and pushing against the walls and pushing the walls out.
Okay.
And that was just something that came about just as people were, using their BMP. So now they design them a lot more with either a backfill on that push wall or concrete walls.
Very cool. Let's see. Do you have any like interesting stories or like anything like odd that's happened while you're in the field that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Um, Not too odd. There's nothing too odd in my experience. I've had some interesting run-ins with cows out in fields. Um, Horses, not so much. They're, people, we go into fields with horses. I have no problem. I'm a horse person. But horses, a lot of them are very curious. So they want to come out and check out our equipment. And if you bring in a bucket for soil sampling, they always want to make sure there's feed in there. And they're very disappointed when it's not. But nothing strange or nothing overly exciting has really happened.
Okay. So I know you just mentioned soil samples. We actually just finished learning how to do those in class. Is that like something you very commonly do in the field? Or is that just like a small portion of what you'd be doing?
It's a small portion. I always recommend people take soil samples so they have an idea of lime and fertilizer that their fields will need. I will help them take them, especially if it's their first time taking them, because they seem to think it's an overly scientific process. And I'm like, nope, we're just going to run out and take some soil samples. And, we're just going to do a random picking here and throw it all in one bucket. And that's your sample for this field. So once people see how it's done, they're not afraid to do it again in a couple of years.
So it's like it is a process, but it's definitely not too complicated. So
no. They can handle it.
Yeah. Is there any other like kind of field tests or anything like that you commonly do?
I do a lot of weed identification. It's not my forte, but a lot of people, they want to know what weeds they have and they want to know how to get rid of them. So I do a lot of weed identification. We do have processes to determine the ground cover in pastures. Because if they have a pretty good ground cover, they might just need to overseed. But if they have a low percentage of ground cover, they might need to renovate their fields.
Okay. So it seems like there's a lot of pasture management then.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. I'm trying to think of what else here. I think I've gone through most of my questions. Can you think of anything that like you just like to share about your career?
This wasn't a job I had really thought existed, I guess, when I have a bachelor's in biology, and then I went back to the University of Maryland and did the equine business management program. And I think the intent was I was thinking about buying a farm when I went through the certificate program. And then, I kind of just found this job and applied, and it was worth it. It was not something that I think a lot of people know about with MDA, with the planners, the soil conservation districts, and USDA NRCS. So, but there are a lot of jobs like this out there.
Yeah, I think this assignment was a very good eye opener for something like that, just because like I know personally, I didn't know there was so many like different careers associated with the equine industry.
Yeah.
So it's definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I don't know. I think that's probably about it, honestly.
All right.
Yeah, well, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.